U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro. In a high-stakes special forces mission called Operation Absolute Resolve, the U.S. captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, in Venezuela. The U.S. described this as a modern application of the Monroe Doctrine, aiming to secure Maduro for a narco-terrorism trial in New York. G7 Summit 2026. France is set to host the 52nd G7 Summit later in 2026. Euro adoption in Bulgaria. As of January 1, 2026, Bulgaria has officially adopted the euro, becoming the 21st member of the Eurozone. Italy's satellite launch. Italy successfully launched the Cosmos SkyMed second-generation satellite via a SpaceX Falcon 9, marking the first orbital launch of 2026. World's largest rice producer. India has officially surpassed China to become the world's largest producer of rice, reaching a record output of 150.18 million tons. Rabies as a notifiable disease. The Delhi government moved to declare human rabies a notifiable disease under the Epidemic Diseases Act to improve surveillance. India's first slum-free city, Surat, Gujarat, has been recognized as India's first slum-free city, achieved through the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Indian Army Year of Networking. The Indian Army designated 2026 as the Year of Networking and Data Centricity to enhance digital integration. Musi Riverfront Development. The Asian Development Bank, ADB, gave in-principle approval for a 100 crore loan for the Phase I development of the Musi River in Telangana. Bullet train milestone. The first mountain tunnel breakthrough for the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project was achieved in Palghar district, Maharashtra. Shuriastra rocket system. The Indian Army signed an emergency procurement contract for Shuriastra, India's first indigenous universal multi-caliber long-range rocket launcher system, ranges of 150 km and 300 km. Battery pack Aadhaar. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways proposed a unique 21-digit alphanumeric Aadhaar-like ID for EV batteries to ensure life cycle traceability. Taimur missile. Pakistan successfully flight-tested the indigenous Taimur weapon system, an air-launched cruise missile with a 600 km range. Superbugs in air. A new study detected superbugs, multi-drug-resistant staphylococci, in the air over Delhi, exceeding WHO safety limits. Forex reserves. India's foreign exchange reserves rose to $696.61 billion. Investment leader. Andhra Pradesh emerged as India's top investment destination in FY26, accounting for over 25% of proposed capital investments. Women's hockey coach. Shohard Marijan has returned as the head coach of the Indian women's hockey team. National Bird Day, observed on January 5 to raise awareness for avian conservation. World Braille Day, observed on January 4, commemorated through events on January 5. Maduro's first court appearance. Deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, appeared in a New York federal court on January 5 to face narco-terrorism charges. They both pleaded not guilty, with Maduro insisting he is still the legitimate president. Operation Absolute Resolve details, the Pentagon confirmed that approximately 200 U.S. Special Forces, Delta Force, entered Caracas as part of the mission to seize Maduro. President Trump asserted the U.S. is in charge of Venezuela and will temporarily run the country to stabilize its oil infrastructure. China and Russia, both nations condemned the capture as an illegal act of external interference and called for Maduro's immediate release. Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu praised the perfect operation and expressed support for U.S. actions in the region. Protests. Thousands demonstrated outside the U.S. Embassy in Buenos Aires and other global capitals to condemn the kidnapping of Maduro. Greenland annexation threats. Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen issued a sharp rebuke to President Trump, stating enough is enough following renewed U.S. suggestions of annexing the autonomous Danish territory. Iran unrest. Human rights groups reported that at least 16 people have been killed during a week of intense protests in Iran over soaring inflation and currency collapse. President Trump stated the U.S. is locked and loaded to intervene on behalf of the protesters. CDC vaccine schedule overhaul. Following a presidential directive, the CDC officially scaled back the number of recommended childhood vaccines from 17 down to 11. The new guidelines move vaccines for COVID-19 and flu to a consultation-only basis and narrow the scope for hepatitis A/B and meningitis shots. Antarctic microbe discovery. Researchers published findings on a DNA sequence in Antarctic microbes that signals cells to encode a rare amino acid instead of stopping protein synthesis, a unique genetic code variation. Wolf supermoon, the first full moon of 2026, known as the Wolf Moon, peaked on January 5, appearing up to 14% larger and 30% brighter than average due to its perigee. U.S. India diplomatic tensions. External Affairs Minister S. J. Shankar began a 6-day visit to France and Luxembourg. Simultaneously, the U.S. released a list of countries whose immigrants heavily utilize welfare. Notably, India was excluded from this list, while neighbors like Pakistan and Bangladesh were included. Judicial ruling on Umar Khalid. The Supreme Court of India denied bail to activists Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam, ruling that constitutional guarantees of personal liberty are not absolute under special statutes like the UAPA. Andhra Pradesh investment leader. Official reports for FY26 show Andhra Pradesh has emerged as India's top investment destination, attracting 25.3% of the country's total proposed capital. Indore health crisis. A public health emergency was declared in Indore's Bhagirathpura area after contaminated water led to 10 deaths and affected over 1,400 residents. T20 World Cup boycott. The Bangladesh Cricket Board formally requested the ICC to relocate its matches out of India for the upcoming Men's T20 World Cup, citing security concerns and the ouster of pacer Mustafizur Rahman from the IPL. Market impact. Global markets saw a surge in gold and silver prices as investors reacted to the geopolitical instability in South America. In India, analysts noted that the U.S. takeover of Venezuelan oil could eventually help recover nearly $1 billion in long-pending dues owed to Indian energy firms.